So as you guys can see, we're not in the studio. We are going to talk about this Recon Scout. This is the new version by Cold Steel. It came into me from a subscriber, came with a custom sheath. We're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna do some testing, and we're just gonna have fun with this because this knife is a beast. So this is the Cold Steel Recon Scout buoy. Now I will tell you, this is not the original sheath. And of course, that's when an ambulance comes. Filming outside, it has its perils. So this is the Recon Scout buoy in 3V. We did a quick overview of this knife when it came in. I absolutely love this knife. So I will tell you, you're gonna see a lot of testing on this knife. It also came with this incredibly nice custom Scout carry sheath. Now this is meant to be small of the back, right hand carry, but you can reverse this. Now this is not a standard sheath. This is done, I believe, by Spirit of the Bear. So don't quote me on that, but you can probably get one of these exactly like this if you like it. It does have a spot for a sharpening stone, as you can see that's in there. There's a stone in there, but this can be reversed left or right hand. So that's not what we're talking about. This is a beast of an outdoor knife. As you can see, I have been testing it thoroughly. So I did some batoning, I did some cut testing with it. I made a tent stake, I started a fire with it. So this has got their Kraton rubberized handles. A lot of people don't like that. I absolutely love that. Now this is done in 3V. It's a full flat grind coming down. It's got a sharpened swedge. It's a very blunt sharpened swedge, but it is sharpened. What it gives you is a very, very piercing point. This is sharp enough to do some small duty tasks if you need to, scraping and things like that. This comes down. It's still relatively thick behind the edge, but you want that in an outdoor fixed blade. But what it's got going for it is extremely sharp, extremely sharp. The 3V on this has obviously been heat treated exceedingly well. It held its edge through everything I did. The wood that I did some batoning through was not exactly the straightest of grain, and it's pretty hard, pretty dry wood. So I didn't see any issues with the edge. As you can see, I have not cleaned it up. It's still got all the markings on it. Did some batoning, did some cutting. It's got a very nice, sharp, hard 90-degree edge here. So I used that to strike a ferro rod. This thing is sharp enough and controllable enough that you can do small duty tasks. I made a tent stake with this. It wasn't the easiest one to do it with, and I had to use some, some manipulate the knife and get up and to do some of the finer detail tasks on something like that. But that's a good test of a knife. The 3V on this is something you're going to want for a knife like this, so that the chopping and the pounding and the batoning and things like that, you don't have to worry about the material cracking. You don't have to worry about your edge holding. It's a very, very tough steel. In hand, the handles on this are the coffin style almost handles that Cold Steel has used for years, with a lanyard hole in it on a knife like this. Absolutely recommend that. You've got this beautifully done finger guard here that comes up, this Quillian that comes up like this, and it is nice and softened on all the edges, so it's not a hot spot, but definitely allows you to get really good purchase up and chop and not hurt your hands. The Kraton handles, very, very shock absorbing. They really, really are. I've chopped with knives similar to this, and you can see I do a lot of chopping testing with some of these larger knives and even some of the pocket knives. The shock that you get from doing something like that can really sting your hands. This absorbed all of it. And like I said, the shape of it feels really good in your hand. You can get a very, very good solid grip. The grind on it is very, very good. I do know that a couple people, like I pointed it out in the first video, a couple people took umbrage with the fact that that's ground a little thicker or a little deeper on one side than the other. I just think they went a little further. The grind on it is just perfect. Like it is exactly the same from side to side. And like I said, screaming sharp. I don't know why I can't get it to focus. We gotta fix the focus issue. The grip on it, the checkering on this Kraton gives you a very, very good grip. And even if your hands are wet or oily, for some reason, this rubber, this Kraton, they call it, that Cold Steel uses, just seems to hold the grip really, really well. I do have another knife that you guys are going to see in a video soon that doesn't have that. This is the Cold Steel R1 Military Classic. And I think that this, while it has a very grippy feel, is not as good as the Kraton. So lots of good things about this knife. We're going to look at a couple of the things that kind of just put me off about it. Just for me, I just think that this might not be a knife for me 100%. But let's talk about that right after you guys hear from Coffee Brand Coffee. Guys, there are few things I'm as picky about as my coffee. And I love to have the freshest possible coffee. So what better company than Coffee Brand Coffee that is providing you on-demand roasted coffee? They don't even roast the beans until you order your coffee. They're providing it on demand, delivered to your door, the freshest coffee possible. And because I'm picky, I've picked companies that absolutely support what I believe in. There is no chance that Coffee Brand Coffee is going to support causes that I don't believe in, because there's no BS, there's no politics, no activism dollars. They take all of my money and put it back into the company, and they take your money and they support channels like mine. So please go check out Coffee Brand Coffee. Coupon code CrazySharp, all one word, capital C, capital S, saves you 5% at checkout. Support the channel, support what they're doing. It's great. There's very few things about this. I would say this is one of the few knives I don't think needs this big sharpening choil here. I wish they had just brought the grind back further and gave you a little bit more edge, because on a big knife like this, I did find cutting cardboard when I was doing some testing before what you saw on film. I would catch on that. And this is one of the few times I think this knife needed more of a, maybe more of a straight plunge without the sharpening choil. I find it odd to hear me say that, but you're not going to be choking up on it like this because it's not real comfortable. That could have been brought back almost to here even, and allowed you to get in right up against and have a more controlled surface. So when you're doing some fine detail cutting, it would have been nice to be able to get all the way back here closer to your hand, where you can do some fine pressure detail cutting for things like tent stakes and stuff like that. I would like to have seen this swedge come back a little further in and be a little bit more usable as a secondary edge for some tasks. There are some things you could have done with this that would have been cooler to bring this back and sharpen it, almost like the old original Randall Model 1s, where the entire swedge was sharpened and brought back very, very thin, so you had a secondary edge. Not like a dagger, but you know, that might have removed some of the strength at the tip. And then the final thing is, this just isn't a knife that is for me. Like, really, I'm not doing a lot of outdoor bushcraft camping stuff. So if I had this, it would just be purchased because of the cool factor. There is really no way for me to carry something like this. This is so heavy. This is a chunk of material that, I mean, it's as heavy almost as my Nebulax Tomahawk. And I can do most of the things with the Nebulax Tomahawk that I can, with the Nebulax, that I can do with this and not have to have something this big. So I think it's just something that appeals to a specific group of people. Is it amazingly well done? Yes. Is it cool? Yes, it is amazingly cool. This is probably one of the coolest fixed blades I've had come in on the channel. It's one of my best performing videos, the previous one. I just think that, man, it's just kind of outside of my range. Plus, they are expensive. That's the final bad point. And they don't come in this configuration. So with that being said, let's
move on to the testing.
So one of the first things we're going to do is some chopping, because there's a lot of times that chopping is something you're going to do in a camp setting. So just being able to chop cross grain for whatever purpose in the camp. And as you can see, we chopped through that in 31 seconds. So a significant piece of wood, or like a piece of 2x4, but we were cutting cross grain across actual wood. And that's something that this 3V, CPM 3V, is going to do very well at. It's also very sharp. This is a very, very sharp knife. I was really surprised at how keen the edge was on this. You can see really easy to just cut and deep cut into that wood. So we'll do some batoning here in a minute. So before we went any further, I wanted to just kind of point out the edge on this has got zero deformation or anything. Granted, like I said, that's not a huge, like, hard piece of wood like a 2x4, but it would have been no harder to cut through a 2x4 than it was to cut through that. So yeah, it's pretty good. My dog is doing zoomies in the yard. That knife did exceedingly well at that. That was better than any of the knives I've ever tested. And so you guys know, I do test knives, like these fixed blades that come in and things like that. This is how I test them. Real world testing. It did a great job. I think it's because it has such a thick profile. But we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff back at the tabletop. I'm going to do a cardboard cut test for you guys. I probably won't talk, just be all sped up, put the music, but yeah, this is just some of the testing. Cardboard cut testing is just a day-to-day cut test, how the edge performs. But we're doing this after we've done all that other stuff. And this is a really thick knife. And so far as I've tested, it's done really well about having a very, very acute, very, very good edge. This has not shied away from any of the cut testing I've done with it prior to the stuff we just did. So it is a little thick, but as you can see, it just eats up cardboard. So and one of the last tests I always do is I like to see how it would do to do something finer detail, like maybe cut a tent stake. So with something like this, you can kind of shape the point of your tent stake, because you can chop with it, and then you can do your other fine work on it. So there you go. So it does the fine detail stuff. Now on a smaller knife, I would go back and I would kind of concave this in, so you had a spot for your line to sit in. But just as a quick test, and doing it on camera is hard, it did really well. Now this is longer than I would make it. I would usually make it this long, but I don't want to ruin an entire dowel rod in one video because I use these for multiples. But yeah, you can definitely get up in here and cut some of that material out and give yourself a nice little groove track for your tent line, for your tie down. And you use this to stake down your tent or your gear or whatever you're trying to do. So these are all really good tests. So the last thing I want to test, just because it's fun, is we're going to build ourselves a little simulated campfire. I'm going to use some of this Fiberlight Fire Kit tinder. Don't need much. We're just going to make a small little simulated fire, like to start up camp. I got some of the stuff that I chipped off. Now that has its own ferro rod in it. We're going to use this big one here just because. There we go. And it works brilliantly to start that little fire. So I couldn't do that up where I was going to do some testing because, to tell you the truth, we're in a really dry environment right now and they're throwing a fit. So now I'm in a controlled environment. So it works really well. No green screen outro. We're going to do it here. Yeah, I love this knife. It's amazing. This has been one of the most fun knives to test so far. Sorry for any background noise. It is the perils of filming outside if you live in the city. However, it is beautiful out here. That's why we're doing it out here. So yeah, I'm absolutely in love with this, but it's just not something I could justify the purchase of when I have so many other knives I could use to do that and other tools. But in a pinch, this will really just take the place of so many things in your arsenal of bushcraft stuff if you're going camping. I'll put a link below if you're wanting to purchase them. Guys, you guys know what to do. Like the videos, give them a thumbs up. Don't give them a thumbs down, but tell me why I can't change the content. If you want to support the channel, as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. I also have got some ways you can do it financially. I have got Coffee Brand Coffee. They are a channel sponsor. You saw the ad. I've got Tempered Trail. They are also a channel sponsor. Tempered Trail, Fair and Forged Knife Works, and Rosecraft Blades all share a coupon code of Crazy Sharp, all one word. Saves you 5% at checkout. QSP is probably running a Labor Day sale, a Memorial Day sale that I'm going to have a video up about, but I'm working on getting a code with them as well. If you want to support the channel, also I have an Amazon store down below. If you don't want to go to those vendors and sponsors, I have an Amazon store down below. You can take that, pin it to your browser, use it for any shopping you do at checkout. It supports the channel, but it doesn't cost you anything. And the final way is I have a membership, which is my preferred way for you guys to support the channel. I can offer you guys benefits. I've got a tier-based membership. Everyone has access to my Gilded server, which is just like a Discord chat server. It's just a private Discord. Everyone gets access to videos when I post them, early access. Everyone gets access to exclusive content, like the full-length version of this video. The baseline and premium guys are entered into giveaways that I do on the Gilded server. That are separate than the stuff I do here on YouTube. And the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series here on YouTube that I'm getting ready to do a couple more videos for. So guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. I'll see you in the next video.